people's tastes and how they consume media has changed. And the old ways of capitalizing on watching films has changed. That's the problem. It hasn't changed, or it has, and they haven't adjusted for it. And because of that, they're unable to make back the money that they put in. Therefore, they have to either lower their cost spend or they take their film somewhere else where the money can stretch. And that is just the reality of what's going on, is that so many people are taking their films out to shoot elsewhere because it's very difficult to shoot in a place like Los Angeles. I don't see how people make films in Los Angeles, honestly.
We are the
Get Reelisms Podcast.
I am Adam Chase Rani.
And I am Christine Chen. And surprise, we're both filmmakers.
We get into it by sharing secrets, advice, and gossip in filmmaking.
We even get our other filmmaking friends to share theirs too.
So please, everybody, join us for
an ode to filmmaking.
Well, we're doing it. We're here. We're live. Welcome, everybody. We're back at it again for another episode of the Get Reelisms Podcast, episode 150. 150. I am Adam Chase Rani.
And I am Christine Chen.
Did you think we were going to make it to 150 episodes?
When we first started, definitely not. I knew we would keep going, but I never thought like, oh, we're going to really keep going, So that's pretty great.
Oh shit, we're actually podcasting now.
We're real podcasters now.
Shit.
It only took us 150 episodes.
You know what's crazy too is that like I watch back the previous episodes and like I know we talked about it before, but like the audio quality, the video quality has just been all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you with your other locations in like going to other places and like having spotty Wi-Fi, so we just have like choppy audio. It's just like, it's like peak performance of our podcast, It's just what we do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We're so good. But I really enjoy looking back at all our podcasts because it's like a little video diary of how our career has changed and what is going on in our lives, and it's really cool to be able to share that with our audience and to show that like it's a process and you have to just trust the process. And it's always fun for me to go back and re-listen because I'm like, oh, that was when I was in this set. Oh, that was during the pandemic. Oh, I was trying to raise money. Like it's just, I don't know. It's one of those like, oh, we can go back and connect the dots and kind of just see how far we've grown together.
It's been fun.
I think it's fun.
Yeah, it's a what's great about this is that it's a little time capsule, so we can all be embarrassed at the same time when we look back at it and stuff like that. What's new, Christine? What's happening?
I'm very grateful to have come off a few sets. That's where our next guest is going to be from, a recent DGA. I was a day player as a second, and that was really neat because, as you know, through my growth as a first AD, which was never part of the career plan, I kind of fell into it. And when you're a first, you are running the show and you don't really have anybody else you're really looking like. There's your bosses are your producers, and maybe the director and the DP, and that's about it. But so there's nobody that shows you like, this is how you're supposed to do it. You're doing it right, type thing. You're like, okay, well, this, like, we got done on time and I keep getting hired back again. So I guess I'm doing things right, you know? So it's neat to finally work under someone who has had a lot of experience. And so but we can talk about that when Glenn comes on. What else is new? I know that I believe we have a tentative agreement with the whole IATSE strike thing.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yes. Which is
I read
exciting.
about that. Yeah.
Yes. So hopefully work will be trickling in at a more consistent pace. And then what else has happened? It's the same old. Oh, did I say that Get Reelisms is in Film Tools last time? I can't remember my time.
I don't think so,
concept
actually.
is-
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
your post, but yeah, you want to talk about it?
Yes. So I'm very excited about it. So there's a retail/rental house here in Los Angeles called Film Tools, and it's a really big deal because I started seeing Film Tools when I was in Austin. People, ordering their stuff from Film Tools for their, accessories and whatnot on film set, and we are now official vendors at Film Tools. It's really neat. You walk in. Yeah, I know. It's a big. I'm very excited. People who are like, "What the fuck is Film Tools?" But like, it's a big deal when this is literally like a brand that we started in a garage, really, because we ordered stuff and put it in the garage. So, Kelly's garage, and then now it's in because I did a count. We are in like 10 retailers now, like brick and mortar retailers, which is really crazy because we really don't know what we're doing. And it's neat because like we never thought that would be a thing. Like I still have the vision that eventually everybody who wants to be in film will have this book, but the process has been definitely trial and error.
Sure.
So it's just neat that Film Tools is carrying our book, and I'm hoping because they seem to be a very innovative brand that picks up on smaller vendors who they really like and believe in, and a lot of them have exploded after being in Film Tools. An example is RoboCup. So I first started seeing this thing called RoboCup. It's a thing that like you'll see ACs attaching to their stands that has the little cup holders. They're like they have all sorts
it started
of
from
accessories
there?
and stuff. Yeah, so
Wow.
Jorge, who was a former I guess buyer at Film Tools, manager and everything, we were at Cinegear together, and he said, what's crazy is that because I was telling him about I saw Film Tools and people were buying stuff from it, and I was so excited to like come meet them, and that for him to consider having our brand. And he said, during Cinegear, RoboCup like positioned themselves right next to Film Tools, and after Cinegear, that's when Film Tools agreed to carry RoboCup, and that is when it like exploded and everybody started to have a RoboCup, thing. So I'm hoping that maybe that's the push. The other exciting part is that because of being able to be in Film Tools, which is relatively new, that was about officially about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks, we got in contact with Film Pin Society, which is a really cool brand online, and we're going to partner with them as well. They do these little cute pins that are like film related. So you have like a boom mic or like a camera or a slate. Super cool. I've been following their process for a while, and I started to see them at the Academy Museum store, which I have been since the time I moved to LA. My goal was to get us into the Academy Museum. And I've stopped by there. I've like left a sample and everything. But of course, it's like some person who has no clue, like, okay, yeah, we'll leave it for, but it's a solicitation, right? And so this time we were actually linked to, because of Film Pen Society being in Academy, they helped us link to the actual buyer at the Academy, and they're like, yeah, we want to see your books. So I left them yesterday their attention to a specific person, so I know it'll get seen. So who knows, finger crossed,
Yeah,
maybe there'll be books at the Academy. So that's very exciting. And then yesterday I did like Kelly and I have been finally checking in on our retailers, and we're sold out at different places, which we didn't really expect. So we were sold out at Austin Movie Gear, which they had like 11 books. They're all sold out, but so now they're not because we just replenished them. And then a few months ago, I left it at a new retailer here called the Larry Edmunds store, which is a very old school store that sells like scripts and everything that has to do with films and film reading and everything. And they were sold out too. So yay, things are happening. So I'm very happy when it comes to that. So that's about, I think that's the news for Get Reelisms. Pretty soon I'll be like, yay, and we're in the Academy Museum. I'll be like freaking out if that's the case. So
what would be the steps to get into the museum?
So I'm already at pretty much the last step, which is the buyer has to prove it. So I just physically dropped off the samples for them to take a look to see if they want to carry it there. And then if they do, then they would set us up as a vendor, and then they would decide how many they wanted to try carrying. And then we would come to terms with what that looks like is it a consignment or is it wholesale? It'll probably be wholesale. And then they go and they start selling it. And that will be amazing because the traffic there is great. So,
I mean, it's the Academy. Yeah. So yeah,
it's the Academy. I would imagine. Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that Get Reelisms as a brand has always been to provide accessibility to the film world. And that's why we use pictures. That's why it's colorful. That's why it's fun. It's because we want like your mom to be able to understand what we do, instead of it being this like, when I first started in the industry, I always felt very inaccessible. Like, oh, only pros are allowed. Only if if you gotten an Oscar or whatever, can you like talk to me, type thing. But like, that was something I definitely didn't want for our brand. And I wanted to create something that, just felt like, hey, if you have a dream of telling a story, you can also come and make your film, So that's why this podcast and everything is for people to kind of dip their toes in and feel connected to the film industry. So, yeah.
I mean,
how about you? What's new?
I mean, nothing much. It's been a couple weeks, right, since we talked.
I think so. Yeah. 2 weeks maybe. We've been doing this thing where we are filming less but longer. And it's actually, I think it's working out great because our time is starting to shrink in terms of we also work in the industry full time, and so gig life, of course. And this allows us to iron out our tech difficulties before we actually have our guests, and also catch up because we always have so many things to talk about to catch up on, since now Adam and I are no longer in the same city. And it's crazy. It's hard. It's crazy to think that you once were a mentee. Like, I always thought, I've never thought of that. I was always like, oh yeah, Adam's like my equal.
I've just always been there. Yeah. No,
he's always been there.
Yeah, it's definitely it's certainly wild because like the moments that I got here in Austin, I got here in June of 2018 and we met in September of 2018. And the first gig that we had wasn't Writer's Block, but it was that Kickstarter commercial that we did about a dude's pen, I think. Like some like crazy mechanical pen.
Modern Fuel.
Modern Fuel.
Modern Fuel.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
And that was
crazy.
That was the first time you showed me how a Canon works. Or a Sony, I think you showed me.
Was it on the Sony?
Yeah. You showed me how a Sony worked, how to swap lenses, how to almost like how you taught me to is hilarious because it's like, okay, you do this, and I'm like,
You're like, you got it right. Bye.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, now you know everything. I'm like, I think I know everything. So yeah. And then from then on, yeah, we just been working a lot together. I mean, listen, dude, I mean, if I can get all of the Austin peeps to LA, I would. Just so I can have the excuse of us just having an in studio podcast, you know,
out.
so we don't have to do this virtually. Although virtually is not that bad, especially like, you know, reviewing it in post. Like now that we have better microphone setups and camera setups a little bit, like
better backgrounds.
Yeah, better. Well, yeah, your better background. Mine is just, you know, I did put in a plant. This is
You've been put in a plant.
I've been put
That's
in a
ultimate
plant.
art right there.
And this plant has been in countless
Everything.
projects. Yeah, where anybody who is just like, you know, any set deck stuff that I bring from home, it's always this plant. So this plant has been in a lot of projects, a lot of shorts, a couple commercials, I think, and yeah, I think maybe a feature. I don't know. No, not a feature, but like definitely several shorts and whatnot. So yeah. You know, it's been an interesting process. Not really much to update on, other than speaking of Kelly, we watched Deadpool and Wolverine last night.
Yay! I'm about to see that today. So
It's
as a
fun,
DJ,
man.
I'm very excited.
It's very
I'm excited.
fun.
I saw Twisters yesterday, which was also very fun.
Awesome
Yes.
movie, isn't it?
Very fun. Yeah, I was.
So good.
Well, Roxy was the one who told me it was so fun, and so I was like, okay, guess I'll go watch it because since it's part of my membership with the DGA to be able to go and watch movies. So I'm like, okay, I should take advantage of this. So I went and watched it
Sure.
and had a blast. It was
Oh.
great. It was so fun.
Well,
Yeah,
and too,
so
like,
fun.
have you seen the first Twister?
No, I
Okay.
have not actually.
What's
Did
interesting
I watch
is-
the first one?
No, that's the thing. It's like it has no connection, no connective tissue to the first one, which I thought was gonna, but it didn't matter
Yeah.
though because like it was still a great fucking movie. Yeah, Glenn Powell is gonna do like he's like basically
He's
the new
already
Tom.
he's blown
He's like
up.
the new
He's
Tom
like the
Cruise. You know?
He is the new Tom Cruise. I mean, he literally like I think I watched 3 film season and they're all like great or they've all blown up essentially.
Yeah.
So the Linklater film is a Hitman, and then what was the other one I saw him in? But yeah,
He was also in another Linklater film, Everybody Wants Some. That I think
Yeah,
that was like
I've
one
seen
of
that
his
one.
first roles, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in no, Glenn wasn't in Top Gun, was he? No. I don't think the new
I
Top
don't
Gun.
remember.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a great time. It's a great movie. It was a packed theater at the Alamo. Haven't seen a packed Alamo in a minute, which was really nice to
Yeah.
see. Yeah, it was cool.
That's cool. I miss the Alamo.
There's one in LA, or I think a
I
couple
know,
in
but
LA.
it's downtown, and the downtown is like
Oh, downtown sucks.
trek from me.
Yeah, it sucks.
yes. So I don't go because just to go downtown for me at any point ends up taking an hour because of traffic and everything. And in theory, it should just be 38 minutes, but it's like an hour and whatever.
The only time I think
Traffic on it.
Alamo's inaccessible here in Austin's during South by. Like South by, like going to Alamo is basically impossible. Like
Difficult.
there's no
Yeah.
parking. Everybody is setting up there for some reason, and there's a shit ton of people just coming in and out. You know, not even watching a movie, just doing like press and like doing like
Press. There's a lot of press.
promos
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, it just feels like it's just too congested. But yeah, like it's great seeing a packed theater and hearing everybody just fucking laugh at almost every single fucking joke, which is a very joke heavy movie, which I know like a lot of people don't like for some reason. That was like some of the like people online, some of the online nerds, like their one complaint about it was like, oh, there's just so many jokes. I'm like, well, that's a Deadpool movie. So jokes are always going to happen.
Jokes are required.
Jokes are required. It's Ryan Reynolds, you know, and yeah, lots of cool, neat things. Even if you're not like a in-depth like Marvel nerd like myself or even Kelly, it's still fun to watch. You know, it's still a really fun fucking movie to watch.
Okay, I'm excited because I get to see it at 7:00 today. I wonder if it's going to be something that has a Q&A. I can never figure out which ones are going to have Q&As.
Where are you watching it
at the DGA.
Oh, at DGA.
At the DGA. Yeah, I only watch movies now at the DGA because it comes with my membership. So it's like.
So how does that work? So is it like you just get a movie, free movies, period, whenever there's a screening? Okay, shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not technically free because I pay a membership, but it's well worth it. The fact that it's at the DGA, because the DGA, the theater, the sound system is so good.
Insane.
So
I bet. Yeah,
it's insane. It's really great, and it's an opportunity to go in, and you'll always run into somebody, you know. So like a DGA member, so a good networking opportunity and everything, and I don't know. It's nice. Oh, I watched Fly Me to the Moon, which there's a line in there that made me laugh so hard. It's the one about Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson.
What?
And it's the whole like NASA going to the moon type thing.
I never heard of this.
Yes, there's one line that is very funny. It's not really a spoiler, but there's a director in there who is like hoity-toity, and he says this line like, "Don't you remember? I'm in the DGA," and everybody just laughed because I watched it at the DGA, so everybody just laughed their heads off. So it was a fun experience being in the DGA theater and this director being like, "I am in the DGA."
Very meta moment. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very meta. Yes. So
that's fun.
But yeah, it's been it's been good. I haven't had to write any essays, so I'm very thankful. I have a little tiny break.
Yeah.
From all of the grant writing that I've been doing. So that's been nice. And it's been very nice to be on set. I didn't realize how much I missed it. And hopefully it keeps going and we can all go back to working and making a living and everything. So
I hope so too.
It's been good.
Yeah, it's been interesting too. Like there's you probably saw these posts too on the good old Facebook. There's been a couple posts like from some Austin local people, you know, they're just kind of giving some words of encouragement, just to be like, "Hey, I know it's kind of tough out there, y'all. Just keep fucking pushing through.
Keep on, keeping on."
Which is nice to see because, like, you know, like the gigs that I've been getting have been like, you know, 1 to 2 day gigs. You know, very like spread apart. You know, not really much.
Same. It's everybody. That's I feel like if you are listening, that's the biggest thing that you need to get through your head is knowing that this is an entire industry problem.
Yeah.
It's not you problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're in the situation, it's very easy to think, oh, it's because I'm unhireable. I did something wrong. My skill isn't as good as everybody else. It's not. This is a whole industry problem. And every single person in the industry is experiencing these one-off tiny gigs that are 1 or 2 days or whatever. It's few and far between as well. And maybe you'll be lucky if you work once a month, you know, very lucky.
And some of those gigs are going to be PA gigs, you know. I have to too, y'all. You know, it sucks because I'd rather do set deck shit. Of course, that's like my first like go to. But even with set decking, like, you know, there's going to be those jobs where it's not good. It's going to be like 150 or less a day sometimes, and
Yeah.
you're just like, well, fuck, I need to pay bills. So, for 2 days, $150, $300, that helps a lot. Not a ton, but it does help.
Yeah. I'm teaching piano, so.
Well, and that too,
I
like
mean-
we all, that's the other thing is like you got to develop some side gigs, like, especially just like for me, writing advertising, a little bit of copywriting stuff, very tiny jobs. And we all have to
Survive.
fucking survive, man.
We all have to survive.
It's rough out there.
Yes.
And the good news is that, like, yeah, like you said, the IATSE agreement it looks promising, but we also have to keep in mind too that these deals are never like perfect. It feels like a lot of times these deals just are like, it'll get us through the next couple years until the next agreement.
Thing, yeah.
And then we'll probably strike then too.
Well, it seems very dramatic, but it's not. It's how any contract, when it comes to an end, it's a natural progression to renegotiate that contract. So that's just how it goes. You know, when you are at work and your contract term ends, you have the right to go and try to make things upgrade your contract or change. Especially the reason why this time is so dramatic is because there are so many new things that have come into the world from a technological aspect, AI and streaming, new ways of digesting content and seeing content that have not been addressed in the contracts that we have. And so that is why there are these negotiations, and it may seem like it sucks, but it's for the long run. When there was colored film and not colored film, when there was sound and no sound, there is always a natural progression. That's just how it goes. And who knows the next time the contracts expire again? Who knows what other crazy new technology there's going to be that we will need to fight for our rights for, That's just how it goes. So
I mean,
just
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just say positive, and that seems like a moot point, and it's annoying when somebody tells you that, and it's okay when there's a day when you're just feeling like this is the worst thing ever, because everybody feels that. So don't ever feel like, oh, your feelings aren't valid, because they are. But I mean, it's a natural progression, and I think what this teaches us to an extent is now we are all stronger for it, because now we know that this happens all the time, and sometimes it's very bad. So how do you, I guess, not prevent yourself, but how do you set yourself up in the future to accommodate these natural lulls in the industry, right? And so I've seen it a lot in LA, not so much in Austin, but in LA, everybody seems to have a brand. A branded something, their grip equipment is branded, renting things. There's people have other ways to survive, because you have to. It's the survival of the most, not the fittest, but the survival of the grittiest, really. Yes.
Or the smartest.
It's who can last longer. Really, it's what it is. But it comes down to it's literally who can last longer, who can take the pain longer. So
yeah I mean, it's a bit daunting, and that is sort of like one of those things that they don't teach you in most film education, whether it's like film school proper or vocational. They sort of just don't teach you, like, hey, you're gonna have months where you're gonna be like, am I done? Like, is this it for me? Like, is this
over?
Did I've already peaked?
Yeah.
And I'm just not going to get a gig? Which is funny because, like, even thinking back to Jordan's episode that we did last time, you know, with how like, you know, finding acting gigs is also like treacherous, and with how many auditions and with how many tapes you have to put in, it's like rejection, success, and then rejection, you know?
Yeah.
It's just you only like catch that lightning once in a while. That could be big, or it could be medium to a low gig. It's still like kind of like luck of the draw, and you know, you can't necessarily blame anyone really, you know, because there's only so many gigs out there at the same time. You know, it's impossible, you know. So
yeah, and also just everyone is navigating these different rules, you know, and yes, everybody can say, oh, yes, there is a lot of corporate greed and everything as well.
Yeah,
however, new policies, it's a people's tastes and how they consume media has changed, and the old ways of capitalizing on watching films has changed. That's the problem. It hasn't changed, and or it has, and they haven't adjusted for it, and because of that, they're unable to make back the money that they put in. Therefore, they have to either lower their cost spend, or they take their film somewhere else where the money can stretch. And that is just the reality of what's going on, is that so many people are taking their films out to shoot elsewhere because it is no longer, it's very difficult to shoot in a place like Los Angeles. I don't see how people make films in Los Angeles, honestly. I understand why people take their film out to Austin and to the South and everything, and because of the friendlier tax incentives, the access to things, and like just permits alone here in LA can cost your entirety of your short film budget. It's nuts. So I don't know. It's just there's a lot of complaints out there, rightfully so, about like, oh, like how are we going to survive and all those things, and we've been debating it a lot just amongst my colleagues and stuff, and I think a lot of it is just policies. I think there needs to be incentives here locally in the U.S., not just Los Angeles, but in the U.S., that incentivizes producers to continue to keep their productions in the United States and not go abroad, because it is so much cheaper to make films abroad, you know? So
totally,
it's an interesting topic, and there's no immediate solution. There are definitely lots of debates and suggestions as to what could happen to make it better. So.
Right. And that goes without saying too. Like you mentioned the audience as well. Like the media has changed like dramatically, you know.
Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, like there's not many people like going to the movies lately for a shit ton of reasons. Pricing, the environment, you know. You can't sit still for more than an hour, you know. There's all sorts of things now that has really ramped up the streaming shit, which is not great either, because it's hard to make money as like a filmmaker. I'd imagine. Like I know like the top like couple percent, like the big time direct. Martin Scorsese got like a pretty neat check for bringing, you know, Flowers of the Killer Moon to Apple, right? Like there's a lot of incentives for like those legendary filmmakers, actors, etc. It kind of is sort of shortchanging everyone else, right? But it doesn't matter as long as we have, like, as long as there's eyes on the film, whether it's a feature or show or whatever, it makes a tremendous amount of difference. But if you're in it for the cash, well,
Yeah,
it's a
none
different
of us
story.
are really in it for the cash. We just want
No.
to survive and make our fun things and tell stories and everything.
Although
because
I
this is a
did
very
work
tough,
with
tough
people.
industry.
Yeah, I definitely work with people before on shoots where they're just like, man, there's just no, like, you really don't make money doing this shit, huh? And I'm like,
Did you just find this out?
like, what do you mean? Yeah, and like, well, these are people who worked in the industry for like longer than I have, like 10 years. Like, yeah, it's just, it's not like back then. I'm like, were you really making much back then either? Like, even Austin in its heyday, like, well before my time. Clear, I'm sure there was a lot of people who did make quite a bit of money, but like, you're not. This isn't like you're getting from like rags to riches here. It's like a steady, just like a steady flow of money, sure, but like it's surviving money. You're still part of like the middle to lower class, middle lower class, and then unless you're like an accountant or an oil baron, that has like a swimming in just a shit ton of money, it's kind of hard out there, and a lot of people of course know this, but yeah, it's always hilarious. Like, I'm sure a lot of you folks probably get this as well, who works in film, that like, why aren't you working a lot of projects? I see so many movies and shows on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. Surely you would be getting on these gigs, wouldn't you? And it's like, well, no.
Yeah, it's funny.
Not that we're talentless. It's just, some of these
Right.
movies and shows have been like in production for like fucking 5, 6, 7 years. Some of them, and some of them 2 years, what have you, It's different. It's different. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I feel like with any profession, there's always, it's interesting what the public perception is of that profession and how different it is from the reality of it. And yeah, I feel like a lot of non-film people just, I mean, how could they? They don't know how much work it takes. It looks very glamorous because that Hollywood makes it that way. You see the red carpets because that's the part that we want you to see. You see some of the cool behind the scenes. Whoa, yes, there are so many moments on film when you're working in movie television. Uh-oh, Glenn's calling me. Okay, that's our guest. So
Okay.
stand by. Let me put him on.